Hello, hello. Welcome to Healthy Perspectives, a podcast that takes on current cultural and social issues through a clinical lens. Hello, hello. All right, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, we appreciate your time. And today I got a two-part deal here. One, we want to talk about mandatory reporting. As a counselor, it's something I've been trained in multiple times. They make us go through this training with some frequency. And then secondarily, I want to talk about elder abuse. So they do combine. Obviously, they're very closely connected. Mandatory report laws are what require clinicians like myself, other medical professionals, psychologists, basically anybody that's in the helping professions has a report requirement. And so I want to go over that a little bit. And then I want to zoom in on the elderly abuse because let's be really clear. If Joe Biden's handlers are wise, they will stay away from Montana, they will stay away from Idaho, and they will stay away from Oregon. Why? Because if Joe Biden sets foot in Oregon, Idaho, or Montana, I'm telling you right now, I probably don't have a choice but to mandatorily report for elderly abuse. I'll show you. So hang in there. I'm not just making crap up. I have talked about Joe Biden's status of mental health on multiple occasions, not because I know him intimately. I do not know him intimately, but there are some massive signs and symptoms that are visible in spite of an effort to hide them. So if there's a massive team effort to hide these issues, and yet they still happen on a regular basis and are in fact appearing to get worse, then what we have is elderly abuse. Now, I'm not after Joe Biden on this, not at all. The people, look, it's friends, family, and others who are exploiting Joe Biden that I have a problem with. That's a massive problem, and it needs to be paid attention to. These people around Joe Biden are setting him up to fail. All right, now hang in there. I've got the evidence, but let's give you an outline. Now, I said those three states because those are the three states that I am licensed in. So first, let me help. I'm going to paint you a picture. So I'm going to start with Oregon. In Oregon, elderly when is a report required? There's this section. So RAINN, RAINN.org. They compile all the legal requirements state by state. You can access this information. It's not hard to find. But they consider, reporting of elderly abuse as necessary by any public or private official that they have listed, and there is a plethora of them. I'm one of them. If there's reasonable cause to believe that any person 65 years of age or older with whom the official comes in contact, in other words, all I have to do is go to one of his events, any of them. If I see him walking down the street, I come into contact, boom, mandatory report requirement. And with whom the official comes in contact has abused a person 65 years of age or older. Well, we know he's older than 65. Now, I'm reading you the words verbatim. This is the Oregon one. It is the least restrictive of the ones that I'm going to read you. The abuse definitions in Oregon are any physical injury to an elderly person caused by other than accidental means, or which appears to be at variance with the explanation given of the injury. So it's an injury. There's also neglect. How about abandonment, including desertion or willful forsaking of an elderly person or withdrawal from or neglect of duties. In other words, if you have a duty to protect, like his doctor would, then it should be reported. If they are just running him out in these dangerous situations, and I'm not talking about assassination dangerous, I'm talking about there's cables, there's, you got to turn left or turn right. I mean, going up and down stairs, like putting him in a position where he is in danger. How about verbal abuse, financial exploitation, sexual abuse? I mean, I don't know the financial stuff, but they're probably financial exploitation going on there. There's got to be a reason everybody's running him out there still. Sexual abuse, involuntary seclusion of an elderly person for the convenience of the caregiver, wrongful use of physical or chemical restraint. A lot of these things aren't happening. Then they go on and they say, they give greater detail, right? Neglect means failure to provide basic care or services that are necessary to maintain health or safety. Okay, well, that doesn't fit then. What about if they have a responsibility to provide safety? Of course. So Oregon is probably the least on the list. Let's take a look at Montana real quick. Montana says it's required to be reported when a professional or other person with a duty to report knows or has reasonable cause to suspect that an older person or person with developmental disability known to them in their professional or official capacities has been subjected to abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, or exploitation. Now, the big restriction there is it would have to be somebody who's in contact with him. So that would be his mental health professional, his doctor, which, by the way, these are very similar in every state. Notice that would, like, his doctor, his people are not off the hook. All right. And every state is very, very similar. What does it say in Idaho? It's required if a mandatory reporter has reasonable cause to believe that a vulnerable adult is being or has been abused, neglected, or exploited. Now, step foot anywhere in Idaho, and you don't even have to have a professional interaction. I could just report. Why? Because in Idaho, we believe in protecting our elderly. Straight up, that's what it is. Obviously, abuse is the intentional or negligent infliction of physical pain, injury, or mental injury. Now, you're probably going, okay, this is interesting. Interesting angle, Jeremiah. Thanks for sharing, and you still haven't made your case. Let me show you why I'm looking at this and saying, holy crud, this is absolutely mandatory report territory. And it's really, you're going to find it's really not that hard to see. I'm going to share with you some clips. I'm just going to play one after the other and let you see them. And you think about what it means to the people around Joe Biden who keep running him out there into these scenarios. Okay. People who keep running him out in these situations. I want you to just ask yourself, does this seem reasonable? Reasonable to keep running him out? And the answer you're going to probably come to is, I don't think so. Here we go. Yep. You have all seen this one. There is nothing here that is new at all. And that's okay. Partly I'm showing you because that was an early sign. What has happened since then? Let's just take another look. Sorry for the delay. Here we go.
Mr. Haney?
Where we going? This way, sir. Oh, you going back the other way? That's where I want to go.
You can go that way if you want.
You can do whatever you want.
You do whatever you want.
I notice how much freedom I have.
I hope you all saw that. He consistently turns the wrong direction. consistently. That is a great example. How about this next one? In this next video, you're going to see him look. I mean, this makes me sad. Look at the look on his face in this this next video when he realizes he's lost. And because that's what it is. It's not hard to tell. A little bit of empathy and care on your part, and you're going to see this. Did you see that look on his face, folks? Did you see that look on his face where he clearly did not know where he was? He was trying to place where he was. And we see this time and time and time again, over and over and over and over. I'll show you another. Look at his face.
Mr. President, thank you. At the end of such a momentous event, the word thank you seems kind of inadequate. But for all the millions...
Did you all see his posturing? When that guy said, Mr. President, thank you, he thought the guy was calling him back. He thought he had gone the wrong direction, folks. They continue to march him out, doing these things. And honest to goodness, there has to be something in the background that is causing them to think that this is an okay thing to do. Most likely, unfortunately, because of the circles he runs in, most likely it's money. If I'm being completely honest, it's most likely a result of money. Now, I could be wrong. I'm making some jumps there. I understand that. That's an assertion without backing. But let's just be real about the symptomology. This man is getting lost. His mental capacities are so diminished, he can't even tell where he is much of the time. I'll give you one more example. This one bothers me, like my heart, as much as any of them. Okay. He's signing, he's doing a signing ceremony. Okay. So it's a ceremonial signing, taxing us or something like that. I don't remember, but it doesn't matter what he's doing. Pay attention to what happens to him in the moments after the signature, and pay close attention to what happens when everybody starts clapping.
Here you go. It's now law.
Did you all see that, folks? Now, he looked for the one he was going to give the pin to. Cool. I like that. That's a courtesy thing. That's pretty normal. But did you see the look on his face? The look on his face was saying what? What did the look on his face say? I have nothing against politicians doing this type of event. It's part of the political process. Well, now we know from a clinical lens that culture supersedes politics. So how important is this event? I give it at about, I don't know, like a 5% importance, like not much, but it happens a lot in the political world. What I care about is all of those people around Joe Biden in that video have got to realize that they are marching this old man out to do a signing, and the guy can't even tell where he is. It is so sad that we would allow this type of elderly abuse in any situation, whether it's, somebody who's in a retirement community, or in this case, the president of the United States. It's still sad. So if you are in Joe Biden's inner circle, let me be really, really clear. Since I won't have a professional capacity, unless you do a mental health bill, in which case I would, for me to have an interaction with Joe Biden, I would stay out of, definitely stay out of Idaho, and definitely stay out of Oregon, because those give me options to do a mandatory report. And I don't like elderly abuse in any circumstance. And to be honest, I can't see this any other way. I'm not mad at Joe Biden on this one. I'm mad at the people who are exploiting Joe Biden. That's messed up. Straight up, that's messed up. You need to get your junk together and take care of this man. Regardless of whether you agree or disagree with his politics, he has spent much of his life. Obviously, a lot of people think he's served himself, for sure. All the politicians do that to some degree. But somewhere along the line, he served some of us in some capacity. Get him out of the spotlight. Let the man, like, if we were talking thoroughbreds, because, the Triple Crown is underway, if we were talking thoroughbreds, we'd say put him out to pasture. Let him relax and enjoy the final days. Maybe he's got days, maybe he's got months, maybe he's got a couple of years. Let him enjoy them. So I told you at the beginning I was going to do two things. I was going to go over some of the mandatory report stuff. Understand, it's really hard to make a mandatory report case on the abuse of an elderly unless there's really good evidence. Guess what? As a mandatory reporter doesn't do the investigation. They make the report and then they get out of the way. That's it. I'm not supposed to investigate. That's what law enforcement is for. But it ought to be investigated. So that's one part. The second part is elderly abuse in particular is absolutely heinous, and it should never happen in our country. It shouldn't. If you know somebody who's struggling with being exploited or abused, or you know of some elderly 65 years or older who is in a really bad situation because of other people, do me a favor, report it. It's not that hard to report. The simplest way, there's a lot of different ways, but the simplest way is to call your local law enforcement, make the report. All you got to do is have the name of the person and a little explanation of what it's all about. Obviously, if you have more stuff than that, that's helpful. But if you've got their name and you've got, a lot of times they're going to ask, well, where is this happening? So the address, if you can have it. There's a lot of basic details that would be helpful. But really, if you have the first name, last name, and a location or somebody who would know more details, you're good. Make the report, please. I don't want to see any elderly people being abused. I also don't want to see children abused, mentally or physically handicapped, any protected class, because they can't protect themselves, folks. Joe Biden can't protect himself anymore. He can't. They're talking about running him out to have a debate with Donald Trump. Oh my gosh. It's a nightmare. Not because he's over 65. It's because his mental capacity is so depleted. We're asking, honestly, I will also be getting upset with Donald Trump at that debate if they end up having it, because I can guarantee he's going to say some things, and there's no way a reasonable person can see any way for the president, Joe Biden, to have the mental capacity to fight back. You know, he'll have to throw out some one-liners. It'll be like, pal, bub. Like that's all we're going to hear. And that's not appropriate. Like, you can't put him in that position any longer. Okay. All right. I went on a little bit of a rant today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this is helpful in understanding mandatory report and in particular elderly abuse. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Hey everybody, thanks for listening. We appreciate our audience a lot, so we give you some simple ways to track us down. Please like, subscribe, and follow all the podcasts on different platforms, but you can also email us at healthyperspectives@protonmail.com, or you can check out our website at healthy-perspectives.com/podcast. It's a backward slash. So if you want to go to our landing page, if you go to healthy-perspectives.com, you'll still find us. You just got to click on the podcast button. Thank you so much.